hear us anymore, so when she's outside. Stick it behind her and touch her and then she'll.
Ready?
Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Ms. Giacari, would you take the flag salute?
Sure. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Suzanne, will you please take roll call?
Trustee Villalobos. Here. Trustee Berdal.
Here.
Trustee Giacari.
Here.
Trustee Levin.
Here.
Trustee Gould.
Here.
Thank you.
The district digitally records the audio portion of the meetings. The recorder is located in front of the board scribe. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. As a community service, Pacifica Community Television records and broadcasts the meetings. Report out on closed session topics. The board met in closed session regarding conference with legal counsel, conference with labor negotiators agency, and let's see, public employee performance evaluation. Okay, no action was taken. We will be going back into closed session at the end of the open session this evening. Okay, approval of the minutes for January 17th, 2018. Okay, did anyone have anything? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Okay. Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed on the regular order of business following approval of the consent agenda. Okay. Does anyone want to, any changes to the consent agenda? Okay, motion to approve.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
And to second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, communications. This portion of the agenda is available to the public to address the board on any issue that is not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is 3 minutes. LSEA?
Good evening. CSEA is going to come up too because we both have something we want to talk to you about. When there was a work study last week about picking your firm for the superintendent search, unfortunately LSEA was not able to attend. We wish we were because now we've read the proposal from Leadership Associates. And we're a little concerned. LSEA and CSEA are both concerned with the layout of the proposal and the timeline. Not really the timeline, but the phases and the lack of inclusivity with LSEA and CSEA being part of the interview process. It looks like we're part of the finding out from the leadership group what we're looking for, our desired qualifications in a superintendent, but it doesn't seem that we're part of the interview process. Historically, LSEA and CSEA have been at the interviews, and we would hope that moving forward, tonight when you discuss the proposal, you can make some adjustments or clarify that a little bit better for us. And Jerry wanted to add something.
I just wanted to add to what she's had to say, and that both LSEA and CSEA have an invested interest in our superintendent. Board members come and go. This affects our careers, etc. And working together in a relationship is important to our members.
Thank you.
Okay. Did CSA have anything separate, or no? Okay. Any people wishing to address the board? Don't have any slips. Okay. Correspondence?
None.
Okay. Board superintendent communications?
I can start. It seems like it's been quite busy. So the first thing I've done since our last board meeting was attended the significant disproportionate stakeholders meeting around the suspensions of African American students in Jefferson School District, and how they're looking at different alternatives to suspension. Also, they're going to be having it happened tonight, same night as a board meeting, where they were taking input from, everybody in the community about what they were doing and what was it called? Well, the equity audit. So the equity audit was going to go and range the whole, encompass all of the children rather than just that significant group, so that they could try to take the data and see where else they could be working on. Also reviewed the proposals with Kathy and narrowed it down to 2. Then we went to the San Mateo County School Board Association general meeting, where the focus was on foster youth and how we can better ourselves to serve the foster youth. I think I'm forgetting something. And then we had a work study with the presenters of the 2 search firms that were selected. And that's it.
So I also attended the San Mateo County School Boards Association meeting, and the presentation on foster youth was really enlightening. I think my 2 takeaways from that was, 1, we have to put more resources that can help these students, and 2, we have to do a better job of tracking these students, and the sort of horror stories about the data or lack of data transferability was pretty amazing. So they had one young woman who had been through the system, and I think they said that she had moved
10 to 14 high schools.
Yeah, 10 to 14 high schools, and a lot of times the information wasn't even following her. So it was very hard to even provide the correct combination of services when you don't know a lot about the person that you're trying to serve. So that was really quite enlightening. What else have I done? Went to Cabrillo's Hooked on Math night, which was really fun. And went when my kindergartner, and they have the 5th graders that have these math exercises set up. They have, I think, about 15 of them, and you go around and do different math exercises with your kid, and there was a great turnout. So lots of parents showed up there. What else? Yesterday I went through my orientation for the California Practitioner Advisory Group. So had my sort of over the phone orientation, and had to go through, started my ethics training and all that. Next week will be my first meeting in Sacramento. So that group advises the State Board of Education on LCFF and currently California Dashboard, and then also matters of Title I funding for the state. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think that's about it for me.
So, since last we met, I have been to a very good seminar on culturally responsive teaching, and it is something to kind of keep in mind that in order to provide equity for all of our students, there are other things that we can think about. And mostly in how you handle students in the classroom to keep them to keep an equitable situation. So good stuff to look at. If we ever come across any PDs on that our teachers will be interested in, that is some good work going on in that, good research and stuff. And yes, that 1 week we're at the San Mateo County SBA meeting and the work study here. So that was kind of a busy week. And, foster youth, the state told us we needed to be concerned about foster youth, and they're right. It's not a lot of our kids, but they are some of our most vulnerable kids, and whose needs just don't get met because they are so mobile. In the what do they say? The 60% of the kids in the county get placed outside the county in homes because we don't have homes for kids, and so that kind of mobility is it's really hard for the kids because there's no continuity with their education, but and their and family and everything else. So, good thing to look at.
Okay, I attended quite a few of those. Jesse, I was wondering, you sit on the San Mateo County School Board,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Association. Do they ask for feedback? I'm wondering if, I found it very hard to hear without amplification.
Oh, you mean at
They
at
didn't
those
have
meetings?
any
Yeah.
kind of microphones.
We've had meetings at that venue before where there were microphones, I
Uh-huh.
believe. This time we weren't. And
Right.
Even they showed that little video, and that wasn't even
Yeah,
that. So
because the young woman, she spoke very quietly, so I'm just wondering if they asked for
I
feedback.
think she also had a speech impediment,
I think she did,
right?
but
Or
yeah.
possibly hearing loss. So
Yeah.
I agree. I will get
Thank
back
you.
to them on your behalf.
thank
I
you.
promise.
So I attended the Cabrillo Famous Americans 5th grade breakfast, which was wonderful. Kids were all dressed in their costume and had their display and gave out their little bios. And I got to meet William Bradford, and he was shocked to know that we were related. And I think he thought I was about 300 years old, so I had to clarify that. But, so that was really fun. That was a great turnout. I also stopped by Ocean Shore. They had their Ability Awareness Week, and saw a presentation by one of our former parents, Terry Voorhees, and Bethany. They were doing sign language with the kids, and it was very interactive, and the kids were having a great time. Did the paper screening, the work study, and then Monday, I attended a presentation that Jennifer Gray and Lynette Lazar did on inclusion for our library staff, actually for San Mateo County library staff. So we had librarians there from all across the county, and Jennifer and Lynette, of course, did a wonderful presentation, and it mostly, the point they were really trying to get across is that the library doesn't need to create a whole separate
project or activities. It's just the idea of including all of these students, all of these kids in what they're already doing. So Jennifer was giving sort of some helpful hints and was showing them different books. You know, a lot of times kids' books, when they talk about disabilities, there's a child in a wheelchair, and that's it. Or if you're talking about disability, sometimes it's just autism, but they don't include the full range. So it was a really wonderful presentation, and we're so lucky to have Jennifer. She even offered all of the librarians that she would come to their libraries and take pictures of their staff for their social stories. So I just wanted to highlight that because I just think that we're incredibly lucky to have such a wonderful person on our staff. And outcome from that is I just received today an email from our Pacifica library saying that they're talking about doing a sensory movie and doing their own social stories about visiting the library and things for our students here. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I also went to the Cabrillo Historical Figures breakfast, and that was really neat to see all the kids, and they did some slam poetry also about their characters, so that was really good. The superintendent search presentation, and then the things that were different from the rest of it was January Jazz last Saturday. So the school bands, the school jazz bands played, and it was a successful night. We raised about $9,000 for PEF and for the music program. And then what's coming up tomorrow night is the All-City Concert, which will be at Terra Nova, and that's all of our bands, Cabrillo, Valamar, Ocean Shore, IBL, playing with the Terra Nova band, which for most of them are alumni. And so it'll be a district-wide concert in the gym at 7 o'clock, and then the last half is going to be a dedication to Jerry Downs and dedicating some plaques to the schools. Some of the alumni are going to speak too. So that's coming up tomorrow.
So I had the opportunity to attend all of those things too, except I did not go to the library one. So and for the
Historical figures.
the Cabrillo events. That's too bad. But I had the opportunity to go to a superintendent symposium, which happens usually at the end of January of each year. And I brought back some really great ideas and some thinking. And one of the biggest things or takeaways that I had was, as we are struggling to purchase technology and make sure that kids have their computers and iPads and we have the projectors, it's what we do with the tools that becomes so incredibly important. And so one of the speakers, and he was one of the last speakers, and I said I wish would have been the first speaker. He was so inspiring, a college student who has started his own nonprofit. I mean, he's amazing. And he said, don't talk about one-to-one, talk about one-to-web. And it just sort of resonated with me that that's what we're supposed to be doing, is to help students connect to and to do research and to be thoughtful citizens in relationship to where do you research, what do you research, how do you problem solve. He found a problem when he was a high school student, and he really persevered and worked through the system. Now is in college and is really putting his thoughts to helping us educators become a little more savvy and a little more thoughtful about why we are doing the work we're doing. So it was truly an inspiring presentation. So thank you for the opportunity for me to get to go to that. It's always nice to see colleagues from different districts as well as to learn new things. So really appreciated that. Thank you.
Okay, district business, district goals. The district values the goals provided in our local control accountability plan and strategic plan. All of our district board agenda items are tied to these goals. One or more goals are listed in the description of each board agenda item. The details for each of those district goals can be accessed on our agenda online public page, or by visiting the district website, www.pacificasd.org, under District Information, Board of Trustees. Okay. 10A, Superintendent's Search Contract. Wendy.
So, thank you. As you had all discussed and shared, we did have a process in place regarding the selection of a search firm. There were 4 applicants. Thank you to Laverne and Kathy who did the paper screening, and we ended with 2 candidates who presented to us last week. I am happy to say, after conversation, etc., and discussion, and to the point made in the open communication, I know Leadership Associates is very flexible in relationship to how we're going to implement, but they're here. Eric Andrew is here, who will serve as the lead for the search, who comes from Campbell, and he can introduce himself. He has a wonderful long history, but he's here from Leadership Associates. We do have the contract to move forward on tonight based after discussion, and I request action on it. And we wanted to also talk about the timeline and what we might want to do to kind of make sure that we get the best candidate and we have it in a timely manner based upon your input. So with that, Eric?
Thank you very much. Leadership Associates is honored to be a part of your superintendent search. It is a very important role that we have, and so we're here tonight to talk basically about the timeline for the event itself. There are certain things that are important as we go through the process. As was stated, we are a flexible term because this is your process. We help facilitate the process. That's what our job is, to do that. So what we're looking at doing is, as you can see on the screen, it's on 2/15, is to have a meeting, and during that meeting is where we will talk about several things. We'll talk about what the district, meaning the board member, would like. We've set up the community meeting timelines. We would talk about communications, who would be the point person for the board as well as the district. Typically it is the admin assistant plus the board president, but again, we get a chance to talk about what that would look like overall. We would also talk a little bit about the survey that would go out, the time frame for that, and all the logistics of the search itself would take place on 2/15. With that being said, then we have a couple of dates for we would meet with the community stakeholders. At the 2:15 meeting, that's another time where we would sit down and talk about who are the stakeholders that you'd like to have us interview or be a part of the process. We would advise you to take a look at not only the traditional stakeholders that you have, but there are other stakeholders in your community that you would think maybe it would be great to have them as a part of this process as well. They may be partners in the community, and you can bring them along as well. Once that's done, we would start the advertising. We mentioned before that advertising usually is in EdCal, EdJoin, and several other publications. Our website, we're going to ask you to develop a website that we would help craft with your IT department, and it would be placed there. EdCal, which is the primary resource for superintendents and district administrators, has publications out on March 5th as well as March 12th, and it would go out. And typically during the time, we would go out and do some of our own research and advertising, getting the word out to people that we know and so on, that we think would be a great fit for the district. The applicants would have until March 19th to put in their applications. Then we would, the group, meaning Leadership Associates, remember I'm here representing Leadership Associates, but the reality of it is it's the firm that will be going through the process with us. Which, as I said, we meet on Tuesdays. In fact, next Tuesday we have our first meeting, and guess whose name will be up there as, okay, who's out there that we all know throughout the state who we think would be good fits. So that's one of the ways in which we just draw from some of our current people we have in our bank, as well as other people who are rising stars that they say, hey, here's someone who we've had in our network sessions and so on. Once that's done, we would look at the trustee selection of the finalists. That would be on April 4th. And that's where we would sit down with you and say, here are all the people who applied for the position. Generally, let's just say, I'll use the example, if 25 people applied, we'd have a book, we would tier them and say, here are the top group that meet every criteria that the board has requested, and with the community input, the board input, that these people meet that criteria. Then we would look at the next step, and maybe there's one piece that they haven't decided upon. For example, sometimes boards will say, we only want sitting superintendents to be on board. And there may be an assistant sup we think, boy, but this person is so ready, it would be dynamite. And so the board can decide if you wanted to move them forward or not. So that's just one of the examples. And so we would go through that list, and then as a group, we would decide who are going to be the people who we're going to actually interview. Once we've gone through that process, we will interview the candidates. You can see on the 24th and 23rd and 24th, we've decided that those will be the 2 days, depending on the number of candidates. Sometimes you can do it in 1 day, sometimes it does take 2 days, depending on the board's will. And then, with that being said, April 25th, you'd be able to identify who is your superintendent. This is a very aggressive timeline, but we know we can do it, and I know there is some concern, and rightfully so. This is the time where people are out looking for jobs. And I can tell you one of the advantages of moving up this fast, most of the searches right now, we are actually doing the interviews after the 25th. So you would have, this is prime for you to be able to do that. I will tell you, most of them are in May that we're doing that final interview. So this is aggressive, but it allows Pacifica to get a candidate and secure that candidate before some of the others are closing and so along the way. So that's important for us. Again, on the 15th, that's when we will sit down and talk about what format you would like overall. What's going to be the interview process? Who's going to be involved in that? There are structures that we've used several different structures for the interview. Sometimes we do use the community. Sometimes the board says, no, we want to be the one who does it. So we're very flexible with that, and our timeline hopefully meets your desires, and everyone's going to be available. So if you can check your calendars and those types of things, which I'm assuming you may have done, this is what we're proposing at this particular time. Yes?
I will be gone the evening of April 4th.
Okay.
So I was wondering if it was possible to switch that to the Tuesday, the 3rd.
The 3rd? Mm-hmm. I'm good with that. How about the rest of you?
Okay.
Does that work? April
3rd is a
3rd.
Tuesday.
Perfect.
Okay.
Any other questions or thoughts?
Yes.
I just want to say that I was involved as a parent back when we were interviewing Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the process worked. I know we're going to talk about this more later,
Yeah.
but I just want to say that I think the process worked very well to have parents, a teacher, teacher rep, a CSCA rep, our basic core group involved in the interview process. So I would highly advocate for that. I think it makes everyone feel included. It brings the different perspectives. Everybody had a chance to be involved in interviewing, and we all had a chance to give our feedback, and how we are looking at our superintendent is of course important, but our superintendent will be affecting all of these people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I would really push to have that inclusion in the interview process.
That's been noted, and we will have that conversation during our, on the 15th.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Jesse?
On the 15th, I actually have my first meeting in Sacramento, so I'm wondering when we're going to start that at 5. It's going to be, I'm not sure how we're going to structure the agenda for that.
So what we could potentially do, because I'm sure you'll be back by 6, right? Because
It goes up until 4 o'clock, so.
So we were attaching it to an LCAP and budget work study that we had already scheduled. So if you don't mind, we could put this on the back end and then, you know, probably by 7
7?
we'll be
Yeah.
ready
Is
to.
that okay?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I'll come straight back from
Sure.
Zacto and
So is that,
hopefully, you know,
so we'll start at 6, and then we'll have leadership associates around 6. I'll work with Josie and Will are putting that presentation together, so I'll let you know about what time.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That's perfect.
thanks for your flexibility.
Absolutely.
Okay, so and then down below, because I know it is aggressive, so I said, I don't know, because Monday and Tuesday are also like work days, and many times trustees can come on the weekend easier. So we may want to look at May 2nd or 9th and add that as a potential board meeting just for the superintendent selection, which can be done as long as we agendize it
Exactly.
in one of our meetings, which
Exactly.
after February 15th, we'll have a better understanding.
Yes.
Is that okay? Any other questions of Eric or me? This is very hard for me. I can't believe that we just
I can only imagine sitting there and hearing.
all this.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So should we call for the vote?
So, okay. All right, so for to approve the superintendent, okay, a second? Second. All in favor?
Board passes 5-0, thank you.
Okay, educational support services update, also Wendy?
Boy, last time, may I use the pointer or the clicker? Sorry. Now, will I be able to do it, or you're gonna switch the slide?
No, I'll do it. I just gotta put this in.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Okay, so today we will be providing you an update of educational support services. The areas of focus are going to be curriculum, professional development, and assessment. The one thing I'm so proud of that I really wanted to show you, I'm proud of Pacifica School District, is the fact that on the school dashboard that we are in all green, which I always say green is good. And tonight we're going to talk about the English language development program, which is our English learners, English language arts, and mathematics. So I'm hoping that you will see all the work that we have done really since about 2010, when I first came on board as we were moving into the Common Core. We're starting to see good results out of it. So curriculum. One of the things, is that you or is that me?
I'm
Dueling,
I just go like
dueling
this.
clickers?
Okay.
Is it okay if I adjust it?
Yes.
Because sometimes you can't
It
read
is okay if you just, I thought it was spooky or something.
I don't make
Okay.
anyone dizzy.
As you'll notice or don't notice, we already have what kind of our plan looked like and how we built our system when I first came on board in 2010. And what we really first started with was with the PSD strategic plan. And that was around 21st century learning, just so that we had a roadmap of some sort of the direction we were going. And the next thing that we said that we would do, or we put in, was a local control accountability plan when it came on board. But as I reviewed the work that we have done from 2010 till now, and the work that the state has done and the nation has moved, it's been incredible. And so I'm here to make a suggestion that we do a little bit of remapping and still use the strategic plan as our foundation. But now, instead of having curriculum plans that we develop in-house with the help of our teachers and employees and our specialists led the group, that we are ready, the state is ready for us to start using the state standards and the frameworks, because it has now come into what we call that 21st century learning, and really focus on concepts development and those 21st century skills that our students will need. And they have done so in English language arts and English language development. It is now one framework. We have one in mathematics. Science framework is already complete, and 2018-19 means that's when we should be doing our adoption. So,
Isn't the articles
excuse
reversed?
me. No,
They're not. Okay.
no.
Okay.
So right now, there is, science is NGSS, Next Generation Science Standards. They have not made the book list yet, or the adoption list yet, until 2018 November. Where they have moved forward is in history, social studies. They did not really change the standards per se, but they changed the framework. And the framework, which I had given to you as a handout, really is focused on how to engage our students in real thoughtful thinking and cultural responsiveness, and looking at history as it truly happened and not necessarily watered down, but to have some honest conversations, etc. And so the framework is just outstanding. And they adopted a list in November of 2017. We will be taking a team to San Mateo County Office of Ed of specialists and teachers to look at the adoptions and then bring back some recommendations. They do have a toolkit that we follow, just like we did with the English Language Arts curriculum and just like we did with mathematics. So this year, we're working on history, social science. Next year will be science. It doesn't mean we haven't been making those shifts in our teaching practices or in some of the standards that we are focused on. We just don't have the curriculum. It's kind of like we made this shift with mathematics, and then we were able to find bridges, which, by the way, was not on the authorized state list. But because we went through this process and we had the vote of the teachers, we were able to move forward on bridges. So we went through that adoption process. So again, what I suggest strongly, and your feedback is very valuable to us, is that we table all of our district plans, because it's very difficult to try to keep them going and keep them up, and we're not that large of a district, but to really use the state frameworks to help guide our work, because that's what we usually refer to anyway. Then, of course, we continue with our support plans. For example, special education, really, they don't have a framework per se, because it's really a department. So we do have a special education plan. We do have a technology library media plan. However, there are national standards now that are very robust in technology. There are library standards that we could use, and we keep all of those working to make sure that it's a robust program that fits the needs of our district. And so we can kind of tweak that. And then, of course, we have our social emotional learning plan that we've been tweaking, and again, there are health standards, and which includes nutrition. So between the state and us developing some of those plans that will help keep our program moving forward, I think it's probably the best use of our time and having conversations. Then, using all of this information, we do work with our local control accountability plan. And so that's the LCAP that we bring forward to you all the time. But as you can see, all this information is rising into our accountability plan and giving us the actions that we need to do and how are we going to do our expenditures of LCFF. And in February, we were just talking about the February 15th meeting, that's when we will bring forward the second year of the first year of a 3-year cycle plans, correct? And so we will talk a little bit about that and how we think some things could stay the same, some things we may want to modify based on our assessments and our work. And then all of this information then of course goes up into the schools and you will see it reflected in the school site plans, the SIPSAs, and we present those to you in October and November. Okay? So this is kind of how I think that we have progressed in our district, and the state has progressed as far as our educational practices are concerned. So it's a very exciting time. Any questions or comments about that? Makes sense to move in that direction? Okay, and then again, as we have worked with our curriculum, we still continue to look at how can we enhance and extend our learning. Can't just be out of the books, so to speak. So we're looking at a program called Girls Who Code, which is an after-school program we may be able to bring forward next year. We do the after-school robotics. We have the grant with the city of Pacifica. Many schools are tinkering in maker spaces, and it's becoming really popular, and we're seeing some real investments in the students and going into those rooms and developing their skills. We still want to do that technology skill development, making sure our kids have those right computer keyboarding skills, etc. The social emotional learning lessons we've developed, and teachers are really having those big conversations at the school. How do we integrate it into our lessons and our work? We talked about our parent ed nights in technology, mathematics, and sex ed, and our school gardens are really flourishing, and we're writing grants to keep them going. I know Sunset Ridge got a wonderful donation from Recology and able to enhance our school gardens. So we keep taking our framework and our plans and looking at ways in which we can make it better, deeper for the learning opportunities for our students. Okay, so under professional development, we do have, in the core academics, we have always done in our English language arts, the lab sites, we've done ELD training because last year we adopted the TC Reading Writing Project as our English language arts program, and yet we waited for a couple of years until we were able to develop the ELD component in the TC Reading Writing Project, and so now we're moving that forward. TC College has completed the reading units for grades 6 through 8. We were in binders. That's the kind of the traditional method that they use, and now they do have the kits and the units. So this summer we're hoping to provide professional development for our grades 6 through 8. And in 2019, for considerations, and of course it depends upon our budget, but we will continue refining the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project. Maybe we will emphasize target populations, for example, our ELD learners, making sure all of our teachers have that training, and to do ELD in the content areas, because English language development doesn't just happen in English language arts. It happens in history, social science, all the content areas, so we would like to do that. For mathematics, we have had some great opportunities. Stacy was able to write a grant for IBL, for CPM, and now they're having some coaching happening at their school. And Bridges, of course, we are doing our K-5 lab sites, and we are able, Bridges has developed an intervention kit that our RSP teachers will be utilizing, so there will be one kit at every school, and they will be trained on that. For science, we just talked about that, NGSS science standards Our grades 6 through 8 have been working on it for the last 3 years, and we have Pacifica Education Foundation to thank in providing professional development dollars for that. And we're hoping, right now we're piloting Science Alive. It's TCI is the publishing company. We're hoping to maybe reach consensus. However, the adoption list does not come out until November of 2018, so it may be worth us waiting just to see what's out there. Grades 4 and 5 have been having deeper discussions or some professional development within as a pull-out during sub-days for teachers to have conversations around NGSS and what that will look like when they actually transition, what kind of lessons they'll have, and I've heard some really great feedback. And next year it will be K-3. Pacifica Education Foundation has set aside some professional dollars for us to be able to do that. And a big push next meeting, or March 28th, whenever that Wednesday is, the ESS team will be bringing a STEAM presentation of science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. So that's where and how we will be able to continue to integrate computer science into our science. History, social science, again, the adoption list, there will be a fair, and there are some great shifts. And so, as you can see, they are making some changes in direction on how we teach content. And again, it is around inquiry, it's around developing literacy, the literacy piece, and citizenship. And our hope is to provide professional development once that decision is made as to what our shifts is going to be like. Any questions about core content areas? And then our other content areas. Again, world languages, we have our FLES program working very well at Sunset Ridge. We are proposing to move Spanish to IBL simply because IBL can, within their staffing formula, have 3 electives of Spanish. So we will be working with IBL to make sure that we hire the right teacher with the right credentials. We are articulating with Jefferson Union High School District. They have a curriculum called Realidades that is at Oceana and at Terra Nova. Keith Irish, who is the Associate Superintendent for Curriculum, he will be working with the department chairs to talk about that alignment, and we will be part of the conversation. JUHSD is extremely excited and may provide an opportunity for our students to get A to G, a step up in A to G requirements if they take these courses in our schools. So they would look at course 1 being a course 1A in 1 grade and a course 1B in a 2nd grade. Where we're needing to have conversations about is if we start in 6th grade at IBL, there will be that 8th grade year where we would need to develop some kind of a process. We're still in the talking stages, and as we flesh it out more, we will bring that information forward to you. And of course, our hope would then be, at some point in time, we will be able to bring that to the K-8 in the 6-8 environment. But right now, that would mean additional staffing, which unfortunately we just don't have the funds at this time to do that. Visual and Performing Arts, we're at the, PEF has really supported us in K-5 music, and actually 3-5, because they do have Mark Umbehagen going to the 3rd through 5th grade classrooms right now. And of course they do grade 6 through 8 band. We do partner with them in they provide instruments, field trip funds, and that type of thing. And March 7th will be when we do the presentation and the planning meeting with all of the board and the PEF board.
Wendy, I know that you're saying this isn't the Spanish is in the discussion phase, but I'm just wondering if you're foreseeing with the A to G, if it's going to be possibly something like math, where you have to test to prove your.
That wasn't the intention if we use their curriculum, because, then they have their second year and third
So it
year.
would just be if you passed.
If you go
those
through those
courses.
courses, and we have to make sure that we have the certificated teacher to do that.
Right.
So that's gonna be the critical find for us right now.
Okay.
But that's how I understood it. They would not have to test.
Okay.
Now, if we do the 8th grade, that's where our conversation was made with them. They'd have to test, because they'd have to finish course 2 in a year.
Right.
And we don't know if we can make that happen.
Right.
So,
Right.
so that's
Okay.
the part where we're still working on.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And as I said, we continue to strengthen our team. Currently, we have, leads in math, humanities, and we call them our innovation leads, which is really the technology leads. For next year, we are recommending that we continue with our math and humanity leads, but do a shift from innovation to STEAM leads, and we're in conversation with the leads right now and with the specialists, so that we already do so much articulation and collaboration that it just felt that this was the natural next step. And then to review our access, equity, and innovation job description, that's Christy, AEI specialist, to maybe move into more of the STEAM specialist position, because she's really doing a lot of that work. And so we will bring forward to you that information when we do our next update, and that would be around STEAM. Okay? Assessments. Now you're not touching it, are you?
Sit on your hands.
As you know, our English learner test will be changing from CELT to LPAC, and we're in the process right now of doing that, which means we did initial assessments in CELT. Now we're doing the annuals, and the ones who did the initial will also do an annual at this time too, and this is just that catch-up period. CASP is coming on board. Will just went to a training session. Our window is March 20th through May 25th. And then CAST, which is the new science test, that will be a pilot this year, so we will not get any scores.
Updated information as
Oh.
of today. It's actually, the CAST is a field test.
Oh, field test,
And
thank you.
the federal government is saying that we have to have scores.
Oh,
So, but the state of California is actually thinking that we'll have the scores, but they won't be reported out, so they'll be able to send scores in, but not report them out, because the CAST feels, because it's a field test, the scores should not be at all shared, or, like, they should be for the purpose of being a field test. So that is happening right now, and the discussions are back and forth to see what legally they can do, and so that's the update.
so we will do what is legal.
Yeah.
There you have it. Formative assessments, we have worked really hard in aligning our formative assessments. I must give kudos to the leads and all the teachers. We have transitioned to Fountas and Pinal, so all K-8s are giving that one assessment for reading. We still continue with our on-demand writing. We still continue with the depth, which is the English language development, so we can see how the students are developing in their English language proficiency. And in mathematics, we do have Bridges, which is our K-5 curriculum. We are using the number quarters. In CPM, the teachers have developed trimester benchmark assessments, so this is the first year. And then we are looking at for multiple measures, the rising 8th graders to 9th grade. We have always used Mars tasks. Last year, we did 7th grade Mars tasks and 8th grade Mars tasks. We always use those scores to push in students, not to be a barrier for them to go into course 2. Last year we had a real difficult time scoring the Mars 8th grade task. It comes very late, it's very daunting, it takes many hours to score, and so we said, and we have always been members of the Silicon Valley Math Initiative, but we're just not seeing the need to continue that relationship as we have in the past, because we have made that shift to state standards. So it's our recommendation that we table Mars tasks now. We probably will not be members of the Silicon Valley Math Initiative next year. It's a 5,000 or 6,000 membership, and we really haven't been using those services much. But we need another multiple measure assessment. And so we could use that benchmark that we developed for CPM, for CPM, but my concern is this is our first year of really implementation. So I didn't know about I was concerned about the validity of that test at this particular time, because we've not really been able to test it over time. So Jefferson Union High School District, we had a meeting, and one of the suggestions that they made, because they will be giving the PSAT to every grade level, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And so there is a PSAT 8, which is a nationally normed test. It would give our students an opportunity to kind of start jumping in. It tests not only math, but ELA and science. So it would give us a gauge and some information on how we're doing in teaching these content areas and how our students are doing. The issue is it's a 2.5-hour test, and it's a one sit. You get to go to the bathroom, but you don't do 1 hour and then it's really the test. So I talked with the principals. They feel that it may be a good shot. Let's try it. Jefferson Union High School District is willing to pay for it. We will get individual scores. They will do the makeup for the students who are not there, because we will do it once, because we will have to change our schedule for that day. IBL is open to it. Of course, they're going to need to do some rescheduling, but I felt that it will give our students then that one more year of information for Jefferson High School District as they're moving forward. So that kind of is our proposal, and I would love to have your feedback on that. Any concerns? If our teachers are on board and we get the kids prepped and we work with Jefferson Union High School District.
And you're saying it's a one sit, what about students that need some moving
I think-
around time? Can they have accommodations?
They have accommodations.
Okay.
As far as I know. Now, I did not ask that question, but I'm sure. I mean, it's kind of like the CASP. You need to provide
Okay.
accommodation.
Would our teachers be the proctors, or would it be the
I
ones
believe
that they have that already trained? Because if
I haven't
they
gotten.
make a mistake or something, I know they invalidate
I
All the
haven't,
tests very easily.
I haven't gotten to that
Okay.
point because I wanted to make sure that we were all on
If their
board.
desks aren't a certain width apart and all that, they'll invalidate all the
Now, this
scores.
is a PSAT, so it's not quite as stringent as the SAT. However, it's our understanding the PSAT somewhat mirrors the CASP. It has like a form, a written piece, etc. And it will be a 4-week turnaround in getting the results. So we plan to give it the week prior to spring break, if we are all on board. And then we will, so if this all works out, my wonder is, can we do it a little earlier next year? But, you know, we're this is our pilot year to try it. Make sense? Okay. That's it. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns?
All I wanted to say was how happy I was to read the news release about the,
Social sciences.
yes, the history and social sciences, because it
It's so well
seems like it's a big step up towards honest history.
It's going to be an exciting time. I can't believe I'm going to. I just need a few more years to see this happen.
So you
So.
can change your mind.
Okay.
Cancel all those meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, 10D, trustee committee, are you done? Okay. Trustee committee assignments for
Okay.
2018. Sorry, Wendy.
Boy, I have a lot. What happened? Okay. As I have written in the memo, we do have committee assignments, and we do those assignments in December. I was informed that there is a library advisory council that we did not have on our community assignment on our list. So Anne Laverne has been nice enough to be representing us on that. So tonight, number one, I wanted to determine whether we want to include the Pacifica Library Advisory Council on our committee list for community, and if there is a representative who would like to serve in place of Laverne.
Is there some reason we wouldn't put it on this list?
No, it's important.
Yeah, I don't see any. I don't know if I knew that we had one.
Yeah,
You know,
is
How
this-
did you end up on it if we didn't
Yeah,
have it
in
on
a
the list?
meeting. You went
You
to
just were
a-
going?
You went to a meeting and they said, oh, you could represent.
No, it was
Oh.
here.
Oh,
And,
I don't know why we didn't.
and I've been doing it for about a year.
Oh.
But
We didn't
I have a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
And so I was just talking to Wendy and saying, you know, if there's another board member who would be willing to fill my spot, or I'd be happy to nominate somebody like Kathy Shiatari.
I second.
Is this primarily for the building of the new library?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so it's going to be a temporary
It's,
committee.
Well,
Hopefully,
no, I
isn't
don't.
that committee 20 years old already?
I think so.
probably. Yeah. I'm happy to do it unless somebody else would love to be on the library committee.
Okay, so I believe that's an action item.
So you attend them regularly anyway, don't you?
The problem, and I'm gonna just tell you this, is that 75% of the time they're on Wednesdays during our meeting time. So I haven't been able to go
Oh.
to many meetings because of that, and I even emailed them to let them know, hey, you're on the same night as board meetings, but
Do they send out minutes or
I think they're switching it up
communication?
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then it would be very easy to serve on that committee.
She can't go. Okay, do we have a motion to approve adding this to our committee list on a regular basis? So
A motion to approve.
A second? Okay, all in favor?
Word passes 5-0.
I don't think we have to vote on Kathy, but we'll just assign Kathy.
Okay, and Kathy assigned.
And Kathy's assigned.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Tenny, the second quarter report on Williams uniform complaints. Josie?
Okay, I'm happy to report that for the second quarter of October 1st, 2017 through December 31st, there were no complaints.
Yay. Okay, future agenda items?
Okay, so on March 7th, it's going to be a packed meeting, and I hope that our parents will attend, because that is when we do our,
There's our parents.
yeah, our parents will attend, because that's when we do our appreciation for our wonderful parents, volunteers and organizations, etc. We also will be, or I will be bringing forward to you a request to place a general obligation bond before the voters for the June ballot. And then in March, we will have 2 items added. One will be a presentation from Janae Luttrell from San Mateo County Office of Education, who will just talk to us about trending issues in San Mateo County, how we are doing with DACA and those types of activities that are happening within our county. And then the ESS update will be the STEAM update. So, any questions? Thank you.
Any questions, anything? Okay, so the meeting's adjourned at 8:07.
We'll be going back into.
Oh, we're going back into closed session.
Will
So do
you
we have to, since I
update
forgot to say it?
them and then give them my email? Yeah, thank you. Who is in charge of that group, do you know?
I think that's why.
I can't remember her name, but she's with San Mateo County Libraries. She has glasses.
Is it Anne Marie?
Hey, what's going on? Good to see you. How's everything?
I was sitting next to her the other day.
How are you?
I forgot to.
Good, all good.
She's like in charge
Cool
of.
my heels here.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Just hanging out. That way we don't have to watch on TV.
I know who you're talking
I
about.
think that's why Sue's not here a lot.
Right,
Because it's on Wednesday, Sue's over there.
okay,
But the woman she's talking about comes to the coalition meeting on Thursday morning, so yeah.
right.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna work. They told me to
Paul is always
come back
there.
later. Hiya, how's it going? It's free time, all the time.
You get to remodel the Hilton Library
Yeah,
with no funding.
yeah. And no community support, or not enough.
They were gonna build the new one by selling the 2 old ones, but if you're not selling the 2 old ones, then what are you remodeling them for?
The Sharp Park, or no, yeah, the Sharp Park one
They want to tear down and remodel.
can't even accommodate, wheelchairs.
No, that's why they're gonna tear it down. That's why they're gonna tear it down completely, I heard, and rebuild.
And they've already determined that if there's a good earthshake,
Again,
that whole front